Welcome back to Hemp Forward. In this session, we talk to some of the more successful pioneers in the hemp industry who are touching every part of the supply chain process in order to develop an effective business model. We talked with 3 companies and asked them to tell us about their journey, setbacks, lessons learned, and their 2021 plans. We start by visiting with Jason Minard of Empire State Growers.
Well, it's an honor to take part in the Hemp Forward for the Farm Journal and HGH. This is Gail Hepworth to my right, the CEO of Empire State Growers. She founded it with her twin sister, Amy Hepworth, one of the premier growers in the nation. My name is Jason Minard from Minard's Family Farm. I'm the in-house counsel for the cooperative.
We decided when in 2019, after cannabis became, or hemp became legal, we spoke to farmers around the area and we decided to form a cooperative with farmers to introduce this crop as an agricultural crop to add in the diversity of crops that we grow in the Hudson Valley. Hudson Valley is it's an agricultural region with a landscape of different farms. We have fruit farms, vegetable farms, we have agrotourism farms, we have dairy. So we decided that this would be a good crop to introduce as a rotation. So we formed a cooperative. It's interesting that the cooperative now has evolved because this is so much more than just growing a crop. We have formed a team with a very diverse skill set to pull this off. To play in this industry, it is important to have a good farmer at the helm, but it's also important to have the other skill set. So we have an attorney, which is really crazy, on our team because we've needed him to figure out these regulations is a trick of the trade. And I'm a biomedical engineer and I've worked in corporate America for 25 years in a regulated medical device industry, and that kind of knowledge on how to navigate manufacturing inside of a regulatory environment has come into play. And we have scientists, a biologist, we have communication experts, we have branding and marketing and engineering. So we're very diverse in our cooperative. And I also want to mention that we're not motivated by the money, which we have found playing in this industry, that a lot of the players in the industry have been motivated by money. We're actually motivated because we believe in this plant, and this plant has a lot of opportunity that we can speak about later. The other part of our business model is seed to sale. We decided that we needed to be seed to sale. We as agriculturalists know that if we don't participate in the value chain or the wealth creation, then it will probably not be a crop that we would want to do, because just growing it, and it has proven to be true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we are seed to sale. That means we control the seeds that we grow, the genetics. We grow the plant, we dry the plant, we process the plant, we extract the CBD, we have the oil, and we can go so far as to
piggyback on what Gail's saying, we control every aspect of the quality throughout that value chain and supply chain. We monitor it very closely.
And it is a differentiator, and it is important in the industry because right now I think that the consumer has fatigue around what is on the shelf, and people do want to know, just like they want to know where their vegetables and fruit comes from, they're going to want to know where their CBD comes from. And this is why, this is part of why we're doing what we're doing.
Absolutely. And in terms of the business model, again, just to stress, the generational farmer aspect is very important to us. Hepworth's Farm was founded in the 1800s, and our farm here, Minard's Family Farm, 1906. And we combine the resources and know-how of all the farmers in the cooperative to contribute to an elite product. So setbacks and lessons learned. In 2019, when we entered the market, our business model was to grow for biomass. It's no secret the market has collapsed for biomass and is currently at about 1/10 of what it was at last year at this time. Therefore, we were forced to pivot. We brought an extractor on site, and we currently now process to full spectrum distillate and THC-free distillate. We pivoted even further through the help of strategic partners and moved a tremendous amount of flower, and it really has carried us and allowed us to carry out our mission statement and our business model and move forward. And in fact, this year, we are growing upwards of 100 acres for flower. And we're very excited about the prospects of that.
The industry is so immature, so you can't, when you're dealing with a mature industry like agriculture, quite frankly, there's some give-ins. But in this industry, there hasn't been the give-ins, and there's been some characters in the industry that make it even more difficult to navigate. There's a lot of players in the industry that are
Unscrupulous,
to
put it mildly.
yeah, and also we're navigating in a regulatory environment that is uncertain. While they made hemp legal, they did not follow up with the regulations, and we can talk very much more about that. But that is what has been the problem in launching this industry. We launched with a plant, and there wasn't the environment in the marketplace to allow for it to go to full, to be realized. To think about 2021, we'd have to go back to 2019 and in this year, 2020. So in 2019, we grew 200 acres of hemp, CBD hemp, successfully. All 200 acres was reaped and stored and processed successfully. But the market has not allowed for the full sale and business for that to be a business worth going back to. Now find ourselves in 2020, we're growing over 100 acres. We're doing the same thing, except we're going more toward the flower and still having enough for our extractor. So where are we going to be in 2021? Well,
The regulations will really play a big part into that. I mean, we need some safe harbors from New York State. New York has one of the most comprehensive laws in the nation, but we really need some safe harbor around this work in progress hemp extract to really plan out our 2021. I mean, we have no inclination of backing down.
we're not going anywhere.
That's correct.
We are introducing this crop. We believe in this cannabis plant. We are devoted to CBD, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to keep at it until the regulations come around. And when the regulations come around, the very important part about why we keep talking about the federal and the local governments getting on the same page is because this is a local business, a national business, and an international business. And it's going to establish itself, and therefore we need the regulations. So I really think that in 2021, this will have settled down, and all that we have invested and all that we believe in will come to fruition.
We feel the supply chain is there. We feel it all starts with the genetics in the field. We're very fortunate to partner with two of the premier companies globally, HGH Genetics, high-grade hemp seed, and Oregon CBD. We're very pleased with the progress thus far in the field. All of our bulk ingredient suppliers are vetted to the utmost degree, and we are very happy with the end product that we're putting out to consumers. So in terms of HSG, Hempire State Growers, we are very confident that the supply chain is there, and we will just keep working at it to the extent that it's not.
Yeah, I don't see any problems in the supply chain. I think that there was some disruptions, but the whole nation in 2020 with COVID, we had some delays in getting bottles, and minor things that are just part of doing business in 2020. But I don't think that this plant, with the exception of the genetics, and I think that with companies like HGH working on improving these and keeping up with the standards, it is a new industry, and I think it's going to evolve. This plant, the train has left the station with this plant. The people, this plant belongs to the people, and the demand will not ease. As a matter of fact, I think it's an untapped potential. We are just beginning to understand what this plant can bring to us. So do I think that the demand in the future? I think the demand is here to stay. It was, it is, and it will be. I think that we're all going to start getting, we're in the Hudson Valley in New York, and we're sitting next to a cannabis plant. This thing isn't going away. It's going to be part of our lives in a lot of different ways. So I think the market's going to be strong.
Just scratching the surface in terms of research. It goes well beyond CBD. There's phenomenal minor cannabinoids that CBG, for instance, does wonders for focus. CBN helps with sleep. Now again, I'm the attorney, we can't make medical claims. This is all hearsay. But in any event, there's a lot of potential around the minor cannabinoids, and we're just scratching the surface. For the hemp industry to evolve, people need to work together and not go it alone. This is a type of crop that requires dynamic skill sets to be compliant, comply with regulations, and bring the crop to market. Therefore, cooperatives are very, very important. You can't go it alone. The other major point is around lobbying efforts. Traditionally, farmers don't necessarily get involved in the grassroots of the lobbying. Because this is a new industry, it's vitally important that everyone have a say in it. For instance, the Hemp Industries Association has done a phenomenal job fighting and advocating the DEA along the way over the last couple of decades. That needs to continue now more than ever.
We found the most successful organizations in the hemp industry today are the ones which managed to get the sales channels already primed and opened and then backed into the farming or processing aspect. They seem to be the ones that are faring the best right now in today's market. Conversely, those that, farmed first and built labs and processing facilities in hopes that the sales would follow, I feel like, they're finding it much harder to navigate right now. On the whole, the more of the process from field to sales that you can handle under your roof, with a heavy emphasis on the sales side, the more nimble and profitable you'll be. Margins start quickly eroding the more you outsource and rely on other firms. The industry changes we are betting on, as is just about everyone else in the hemp space, is that the FDA is going to make a decision as to what they're going to do with regards to CBD. So I won't get too much into that. We're betting on and looking forward to the day when this erratic pricing shows more signs of stability so we can, better plan from a cost perspective and stop throwing darts at a dartboard. We are also looking forward to the development of a true THC-free strain, and conversely, increased testing limits in the state of Colorado. Lastly, as is the entire planet, I think we're betting on a COVID vaccine, just so we can get back to a more typical business operation, doing things like industry networking and, visiting your prospective customers at their facilities, all the things that have been sorely missed over the last few months. The setbacks we've experienced and lessons we've learned as farmers can probably be summed up in one word that won't be a surprise to most farmers listening to this, and that's processing. The bottlenecks, costs, efficiencies, inefficiencies, overall quality, the dangling carrot sales. In defense of the processors, I don't think anyone expected the pricing to drop to the levels that we've seen over the last few months. But that being said, there's a lot of processors that have struggled to deliver as advertised. The lessons for us as farmers, is to spread the love a little bit with regards to processing. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Build relationships. Take the time to have an intimate knowledge of the processing cycle. Understand what it really means to generate a good quality processed bulk product. That's something that's desirable to your buyers. Lastly, don't rely on the processors to sell your material. It was our feeling in the beginning that processors should have their own sales channels and relationships built, but that proved not to be the case. So, build your own. If the processors can help you move your product, great, but don't count on it. Our 2021 operation plan is to grow again. We're in this for the long haul. Possibly expanding acreage depending on the sales performance of the 2020 crop. Also expanding operationally to be able to bring in and control more steps of the process under our roof. More along the lines of the pre-processing stages of the cycle, thus eliminating some of the costs associated with and reliance upon subcontractors of the process.
What business model is successful? I mean, we're still early in the whole hemp industry. I mean, if you think about it in terms of South Carolina, this is only the second year that, since the federal government approved hemp, nationwide. So I think there's still a lot of opportunity and business models that are being defined. Obviously the business model that we're using with our company is fully integrated vertically supply chain, which we believe is the best model, where we can know that what we grew in terms of the seeds and where we got the seeds from, to how we process it, to the point to how we package it up and sell it in our product called Rise to the marketplace. So we believe the fully integrated supply chain is the best model out there. But again, it's still early. So there's a lot of lessons learned, a lot of capital investments, a lot of product knowledge, and a lot of growing knowledge that we have to overcome to be able to hit that business model. Setbacks that we've seen, again, there's been a lot of setbacks and a lot of lessons learned. Again, because this is new. This is new in the industry. This is like doing innovation for the first time with new products. So everything is new, from the growing, and where do you get your genetics from, to how do you grow it in the field, how do you grow it in South Carolina, how do you grow it with different weather conditions, from rain to frost to water to the sunshine and the heat. So understanding all that has been a challenge as well. Then how do you process and how do you dry it? All of those things have been lessons learned, and we've had setbacks on each one of those. But I think we had a lot of setbacks and learnings last year that we've overcome. But the big one, I would think the first thing is the lessons learned. You have to start with great genetics. If you don't have great genetics, you're done. I think the second lesson learned is that you have to have nutrients. The plants are what you feed them. So you got to give them nutrients, and you have to give them, the third one is water. Those are the first three things that you have to do. And then the fourth thing is, how do you dry it? So you can spend all this time putting the water, putting the nutrients, getting great genetics, but you have to dry it and dry it properly and then store it. Those are the 5 things I would say are the lessons learned from us from a grow perspective. And then from a processing perspective is, how do you process this from a standpoint, whether you're going to do crude oil, broad spectrum, whether you're going to do full spectrum, whether you're going to do tea-free, based on what your product needs are, and based on what the customer needs are. Those are the big lessons learned that we've learned in our first year. And again, because this is all new, I'm sure we'll have a lot of lessons learned and setbacks this year, but we've overcome a lot of those that I just mentioned going into our second year. I mean, obviously the first and the biggest one is the FDA. and the FDA giving us some guidelines. Right now, I think the industry is still very immature. Immature meaning that, there's a lot of growers, there's a lot of suppliers in terms of genetics, there's a lot of products out in the marketplace. There's over 3,000 CBD products. There's over, thousands of growers in terms of across the United States. And there's also a lot of different places you can buy from a genetics perspective. And that makes it very challenging because of the fact that the consumer can't distinguish what's good quality CBD and what's not good quality CBD. There's a case where we've done some research, and 17% from the FDA did the research, and 17% of the products out on the marketplace shows that what's on the label is not what's in the bottle. Also, they showed 47% of those same products had a greater than the legal limit of THC into it. So that's a problem out in the marketplace because people are buying this product and they're not getting what they're expecting. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And that's giving the industry a bad name. So I think what really needs to happen is the regulations that we're expecting to see is the FDA making some calls on what's great quality CBD. And also the FDA and USDA putting more guidelines on the growing part. Where do you buy your genetics from? So you can make sure you got great genetics. How do you process it? How do you do the testing? Because the testing for THC is all over the place. So again, those are things I think we're betting on because we're doing here at Summers Farm and B-Rise is our product. We're trying to do things the right way. We're trying to grow great quality organic hemp. We want to make sure it has all the right nutrients, make sure it has high CBD content or CBG content with low THC. We test weekly to make sure we're staying within those guidelines. And I know there's a lot of other bad actors out there who are not doing that. So what I'm betting on is the FDA and the USDA continuously putting guidelines out there so we can clean the industry up and really only have good growers and good processors and good products on the marketplace that consumers can trust in, so that we improve those numbers so we're not sitting here talking about only 17% of the products on the marketplace has what's in the bottle, that's what's on the label. And that's what I'm betting on because we're putting that whole vertically supply chain model in place so we can assure that consumers get the products that they deserve, that they're honest, we're honest products, and we give them real results. I'm going to just say it simply. Get better every day. Deliver greater products every day. Improve on our farm operations every day. Improve on our processing capabilities every day. Improve on the product developments and the products that we bring to market. So that's really, I think we got a great foundation across that whole vertically supply chain, but really it's just getting better every day. So our biggest thing is, again, increase our yield. I mean, we've doubled our yield this year from last year. We've grown about 7 different varieties this year. We're probably going to narrow that down to maybe 3 or 4 varieties for next year. We're in the process of expanding our processing facilities and then also our manufacturing facilities. So again, the whole goal is to get better every day, every year, so we can put better products on the marketplace for consumers and we can be that brand and that farm that people recognize across the world. And also what we're doing is we're expanding our services to other farmers. Because we want to share the best practices that we've learned here to other farmers in the community. We have about 6 to 10 farmers in our network today, and next year we want to expand that to hundreds of farmers. So again, we can teach them and leverage it so they don't have to make the same lessons learned or mistakes that we made. They can leverage all the things that we've done, so we're expanding our farm services network in 2021 next year as well.